we're coming from a position where the researcher has moved to the centre of scholarly communication. And what I mean by that is we're moving away from this journal-centric model where the journal really is this sort of monolith that sits at the heart of communication towards these researcher-centric views. And we're seeing this primarily in the rise of author service departments and in a real focus on establishing long-term community relationships with those research communities. And at Publons, we firmly believe that reviewers sit at the heart of those communities. In fact, we'd say that they probably are your communities because they're not just reviewing for you, they're probably also your authors and they're also your readers. And having efficient review and motivated reviewers does a lot to reduce your burden as editors, and it certainly saves money in the long term. And they're also your frontline defense against retractions, they're your frontline defense against fraud. So they're the people you put in charge of noticing these things. And related to this, but a little bit broader, is these people also drive up the quality of your journals. So a reviewer who's giving good critique and giving suggestions for improvement is going to mean that the final publication is a much better piece of work than it was when it was submitted. But there aren't a huge amount of incentives to review. So as Di mentioned, there is recognition. They do get thank you emails, they do get certificates, they might get their name published in the volume. But that recognition is hard to pull together. It's in lots of different formats across lots of different platforms. And that makes it really hard for reviewers to demonstrate the extent of what they're doing and the impact of the review work that they're doing on their community. And a lot of the time, there's not a huge amount of engagement after they've done their review. So they get their thank you. They will probably find out if a decision has been made to publish or not. If that decision is no, they don't know what happens to the paper from there. And what this means is you end up with a stagnant pool of overworked, disenfranchised reviewers. That pool shrinks, and it becomes much harder for you to find reviewers. And we know that they expect a better experience. I promise that Di and I did not work together on the slides, but these are the things that they want. They want centralized recognition that helps them to show that they're experts. And they want a positive, memorable feedback. So as an author, they get quite a lot of engagement with you as an editor, and they want that too when they're a reviewer, especially for early career researchers. They see this as a really valuable connection for their career. It helps them to progress. Invitations help them to demonstrate that they're becoming experts. And we know it's getting harder for editors too. So we ran this survey a couple of years ago just to find out what the feeling was in the community. And you can see that over 50% of editors found that getting reviewers to accept was the hardest part of their job, over 20% finding qualified reviewers in the first place. And interestingly, we last summer published a global state of peer review report. And in it, we found that, contrary to what you might believe, the main reason for declining invitations was not their workload. It was actually that the paper they were invited to review was not within their subject expertise, so they didn't feel that they were qualified to review that paper. And this is where Publons hopes to help. So we've got two services for the publisher and editor market at the moment. We have Reviewer Recognition, which Di mentioned, and Reviewer Connect. So on the recognition front, there's a few facets. We integrate seamlessly with your workflow. So Editorial Manager, Scholar One, all the major systems, we sit within the workflow as a question. That means that your review, the review record is automatically transferred to Publons. It doesn't take the reviewer out of the system. It requires no more work than a checkbox. And that all feeds data into these rich researcher profiles that help reviewers to really demonstrate what they're doing. We don't just have review data on there, we also have publication data, and we have some metrics to help people compare themselves to their cohort. We engage with reviewers post-publication, so if a paper is published elsewhere and we're able to match those records, then we send them an email just letting them know where it's published, and if it has an Altmetric score, what the impact there is too. We offer a publisher dashboard, so that's a range of data that you as publishers and editors can look at and just gauge your journal performance, your review community demographics, and also how your integrations are working, so how successful they are, how popular they are. And we also do historical recognition, so obviously integrations are great because they help everybody to get recognition moving forward, but the people who came before then, reviewed before then, might feel a bit left out. So what we offer to do is take all of that back data and load it into the service so that you can say, it's great that we can recognize you moving forward. We also want to recognize you in the past as well. And then we have Reviewer Connect, which pulls together some 10 million plus authors from the Web of Science, and also all of the Publons profiles. So We're getting towards 1 million now. And what you can do there is find, screen, and connect. Di went into it, so I won't bore you too much with it. But just to add that there is also a web-based service, so it's great that it's in Scholar One. If you find it's not quite matching your results, you can then go to the web, tweak your search, and hone it down to those keywords that are really important to you. So we've been working with Taylor and Francis since 2017. We started with a 30-journal pilot, and you can see that over the last 2 years, we've really ramped that up from 30 to 50 to 500 plus this year. And these are the stats for Taylor and Francis on Publons at the moment. So we have over 160,000 reviews from over 55,000 reviewers. We've got 487 integrated journals, and you can see that where there's an integration in place, just over 1 in 3 reviewers are opting to receive that recognition. And you can see our site-wide stats at the bottom there, so you can see that this is a really substantial chunk of everybody on there. So we do value these partnerships with big publishers because it really helps to bring more recognition to a wider community. Because what we're trying to do is help publishers like Taylor and Francis take a more holistic view to their research and review workflow. So you can see we reward reviewers, help you to monitor, help to build those profiles, which then helps you find reviewers more accurately, screen them, connect with them, and then offer feedback again in an iterative loop. And I like this quote at the bottom here because it's just really succinct. What Publons hopes to do is to help offer recognition for some of the quiet work that reviewers are doing.